Dr. Irons saluted and recognized the founder of Choose Life International and celebrated the fact that he has brought focus and dedicated his life, along with his wife Faith, to the service of this organization and to bring to the awareness of our nation the whole issue of suicide and suicide prevention in Jamaica. We thank God for sparing the life of Dr. Donovan Thomas. As you know, he recently went through some health challenges himself, but he's well, and he told me his heart is in good shape, and we're going to invite him now to come and to bring a perspective to bear on us, to talk about the rates, the reasons, and the realities. And also, if I may, just as he comes, mention the fact that his research is published in a book, the second edition, Confronting Suicide, Helping Teens at Risk. The second edition is available at the seminar on the book table today. Would you welcome Dr. Donovan Thomas, the founder of Choose Life International.
Dr. Lass Newman, Honorable Dr. Fenton Ferguson, Minister of Health, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, pleasant good morning to you all. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. Monday morning is a challenge. Any day to get out from work for one day is a challenge. God, for some reason, has placed suicide prevention as one of our priorities as we seek to help people live physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And thank you for joining us today. I know the topic I have sounds like a big presentation, but I'll try not to make it a big presentation. In fact, if we want to hear the minister and to get on with the business of the day, I cannot make it a big presentation. I want to tell you, though, that the matter of suicide caught my attention 26 years ago when I worked and served in St. Mary. My wife and I met a teenager who was suicidal. We didn't know how to handle her case. We didn't know what to do. So we ran from St. Mary into Kingston and got to Dr. Barry Davidson for help. He shared with us, and praise God, we were able to help the teenager stay alive. Later on, while National Director of Jamaica Youth for Christ, I was doing a research on Jamaican teenagers at risk, the church's response. And I was very surprised when 1 in 4 of the teenagers we interviewed indicated that they had seriously thought about taking their own lives. I said, well, as a youth worker, and especially as a Christian youth worker, I would like to find some answers before they start. So I set on a journey. I did a paper on pastoral response to teen suicide and some other things. Finally did my doctoral dissertation on confronting suicidal propensity among Jamaican teenagers. Got into all kinds of research, and what I found was information that could help me, but information that was really not out there generally. So while I was at Youth for Christ, we did some work in that area, and there came a time when Faith and I felt it was time to start an organization to help people live physically, emotionally, and spiritually. As I look at the statistics, I realized back in 2000, 815,000 people killed themselves across the world. By the time we got to 2010, the number had moved to 1 million. And the projection from the World Health Organization is that by the time we get to 2020, 1.56 million people will die by suicide every year. So over a 20-year span, we expect the rate of suicide to double. And I am issuing the call to all of us to position ourselves to help hurting people. This year we are celebrating our 50th year of independence. I want to say to you, as we look at the figures concerning suicide, over the last decade, an average of 50 people have taken their lives every year in this nation. It is believed that for every one person that completes and I want to beg you not to say succeeds, completes suicide, because suicide is not successful. For every one person that dies by suicide, at least 20 have attempted, and probably another 20 have thought about it. Our passion is to intercept those persons before they actually take their own lives. And that's what we invite you to join us in. As we look at the figures for 2010, we realize that the figures went down to 28, and we rejoiced. But let's not rejoice too much, because by 2011, the figures again went up to 53. So I ask us, let us keep focus. Here, Jamaica is among the countries with the lowest suicide rate around the world. But let us not be complacent. So it was with South Korea many years ago. So it was with other parts of the world where suicide rate is much higher. I ask you to be vigilant. I ask you to do all you can to empower yourselves and the people in your sphere of influence to help people live. It pains my heart when I think that 779 people in Jamaica took their lives between 1996 and 2006. 779 persons between 1996 and 2009. Sorry, 779. And suicide is underreported in this nation as it is in many nations around the world. As we look at the figures, we realize that between 1996 and 2009, the ratio of men to women who die by suicide is 7 to 1. 7 males to 1 female. And I ask us to help our males to choose life. Back in 2001, the Ministry of Health, through their adolescence section, said 11% of adolescents have attempted suicide, and 3% more than once. In a little research that I did last year, I found 12% have attempted suicide, and that is 11 to 13-year-olds. The problem is in our churches. The problem is in our homes. The problem is in our business places and our workplaces. I ask you to be vigilant, to make a difference in the lives of people. In preparation for this seminar, we had several media opportunities. And there were, if I were to estimate the number of calls I've gotten over the last 5 days for people who want to hurt themselves, I'm certain it would be over 40. People who want to kill themselves. Some of them call crying and so forth. The economic situation is a major concern locally and abroad. When a mother not able to feed her children, she feels hopeless and helpless, and sometimes even decides to kill herself. So intense is the relationship between economy and suicide that a new word has been coined, econocide. So I ask you, look out for those who are less fortunate than yourself. Help, step in their world and make a difference. I remember that I went in the kitchen and I took up a hand of banana, a few oranges, and I headed up the hill near to where I live to exchange it for the rope that the lady was going to use to kill herself. I remember the lady called our office and she was sick. She had stopped working for a while. She had a 13-year-old daughter. She couldn't send her to school and she was so frustrated. And she said, I am going to kill myself. And what really broke my heart even more was when she said, and I am not going to leave my 13-year-old to suffer. We can step in and make a difference. I was at church that same night. We took up an offering. And were able to intervene in her situation. Months after, I did a presentation at a PTA, and she walked out behind me. I thought it was mere coincidental. She came and said, you know me? I said, no, I don't, but tell me who you are. And she said, I was that parent who felt so down and felt as if I couldn't make it. Thank you for making a difference. There are many of those out there. And there are many of those who are calling for our help. What can we do? As we look at the reasons, we realize that there is loss of finances, loss of relationship, loss of loved ones. People are killing themselves to escape the present realities. People are killing themselves because of broken love affairs. People are killing themselves because of molestation and sexual abuse and other forms of sexual abuse. And I have come to appreciate that it is not just our girls who are being molested, but our boys. I want to call upon parents to be vigilant. I want to call upon caregivers, social workers, pastors, teachers to be vigilant as we seek to protect the emotional well-being of our children. As we have interacted with the matter of suicide and suicide prevention, there are some realities that we must face. We must face the fact that there are many people out there who are hurting, and that intervention does make a difference. One of the things that Choose Life International is doing at this time, we're offering assessment, emotional assessment, primarily to children who are moving from prep school, or primary school, into high school. And we're saying, just like a child comes to high school with medical record and academic record, the time has come for the child to also come with emotional profile. Because we want to avert crises. But we also realize that the adults are hurting. And it doesn't matter how solid the emotional state of our children is. There are teachers who are hurting. And so we have also designed a course specifically for adults. It is called The Art and Science of Happiness. And at this point in time, all the students who go through Micah College are required to do that course. And what we have found is that people are able to shed their baggage, the hurts and the pain, the unforgiveness. They are able to get past their past. And I know some of you are asking right now, when is that next course? How can I join it? Because we carry the pain and we carry the hurt. And we need to look over our own emotional state and stop pretending. I remember an adult staying in our home some time ago. She stayed for 3 months. She was a customer service rep. And she would stand up before the mirror every morning before she went out to rehearse her smile, because she wanted the world to see her in a particular way without the pain and the hurt that was deep down in her heart. So we hope to be able to get the art and science of happiness out in churches, in the wider society, and of course in teachers' colleges, to be able to help raise the bar in the emotional well-being of our children and adults. We're also providing training seminars at various types, suicide prevention and so forth. And we look for every opportunity to be able to network with organizations. I want to use this opportunity to say thanks to Dr. Maureen Irons Morgan from the Ministry of Health, who has been there since the inception of Choose Life and has helped to provide the guidance and the support. And she has a passion to help, and she continues to endorse. Thanks, Dr. Maureen Irons Morgan. Mr. Minister, I think the time has come for us to make this matter of Suicide Prevention Day not just something that we do in a seminar in Kingston, but a national focus. And I want to ask you kindly, sir, to consider how you can help that to happen across the nation. Our schools. In fact, yesterday, when we were hard preparing for this seminar, our guidance counselor called to ask, can you come to our school to do something? We want to get the word out even more. I want to call upon all of us to spend time with the children. It's not just the special shoes and uniform, but there is the emotional connect that is needed. And sometimes we miss them and we wonder why they are gone in bad company. Because we are created to be in relationships. And if they're not relating to people of positive influence, then they're going to relate to others. Do all you can to make a difference. Allow yourself to be inconvenienced so we can have more stories of hope. I want to invite Stacy Jones and Yvonne Cook to join me here at the podium at this time. Stacy surfaced the year we did our first seminar. She watched an interview on TVJ and called our office because she was searching for help. Stacy, come forward, please, and tell us what happened 4 years. What happened? What is it that you were looking for when you called our office 4 years ago?
Good morning, everybody. And I will ask each and every one here to just give yourself a round of applause. Today, I'm happy to be here. I have to start with this. I've gotten my Christmas gift early, just seeing a lot of people out for this occasion. 4 years ago, I saw the interview on television, and once I saw suicide prevention. I just saw the word suicide. I didn't even see prevention until later on. And that's what I was looking for 21 years. My mother committed suicide when I was 9. And from that time, I've known I wanted to speak. I've known I wanted to get over it. And when I saw Dr. Thomas and heard him say suicide, and that's what I studied, I said, yes, that's the place for me to go. And that's when I really went into it. Mrs. Thomas spent hours with me. That's when I finally grieved for my mother. And I'm so thankful for Choose Life International this morning, and thankful that, they stepped into my life, or they just happened to be my life from 4 years ago. And I'm just grateful today and thankful that I got to get over it. I was only 9 when it happened, as I said before, and the eldest of 3 sisters. So imagine I just woke up that morning and didn't smell my breakfast. That it was as simple as that. I started looking. I said, but nothing is not happening in the kitchen. And I'm looking. I saw, my swing was there, and I'm thinking, okay, sometimes she do take a morning swing. But when I looked closely, I said, she's not swinging this morning. And then I called my younger sisters, and I'm saying, mommy's dead. And they're wondering what I'm talking about, and I'm like, she's gone, we're not going to see her again. So I say to you and that just be aware, People may say they didn't see any signs, but there were signs, because now that I'm older and you start to do your research and you read, there are signs everywhere that someone is in trouble. Do not take a threat lightly, because I heard her say, one day you might come and see me hang up on that tree. I was too young to say, let's, go get help. But I remember hearing it, and there were other signs. So I say to you, just be aware. And I am thankful from the bottom of my heart that I see this room full and almost seem like seat is not available, So thank you.
Stacy joined our staff a few months in August, and her passion to help people is just unbelievable. So you hear her going from sharing what happened to her administrative role. So she's our admin assistant. Stacy, something is going to be happening at 8 o'clock this evening around the world, and I want you to just tell them and invite the team to join you.
Yes, tonight at 8 p.m., I'm asking you to join me and tell others to join me in lighting a candle at a window. That candle will signify the remembrance for those you know have passed away from suicide, and also hope for those who are living with the thought and those who are going through hurt right now.
Thanks so much, Stacy. So great to have you as part of the team. So 8 o'clock tonight, you can go. 8 o'clock tonight, and we want to ask you to join in remembering those who have lost love, well, who have passed on by suicide. Light a candle. You don't need to sing a song here. Light a candle. Place it close to the window. Keep it, make sure it is safe in a container that it won't burn down the house or anything. Don't use it as an opportunity now to commit suicide. To remember those who have passed on. Over 700 persons in this nation since 1996. Yvonne, you do have a story of having experienced some stuff. Can you just tell us quickly, please?
My name is Yvonne Coke, and I know that God is good because I'm standing here. And Dr. Thomas, the name of the organization, I know came out of the scriptures because he says, I've set before you life and death. Choose life. He has encouraged us to choose life. I didn't choose life to start with. God chose to give me life. And I remember vividly my first thoughts of suicide as a solution to what I felt was a recurring problem. As a young child starting at 5 years, I began to be the prime target of sexual molestation, about which I could not speak to anyone. Family members, young and old, saw me as a sexual toy. Even a stranger on a bus traveling from Trelawney to Kingston, right under my mother's watchful eyes. By the time I got to 11 years, when I lived with my father and his common-law wife, I was like Cinderella, who did the work and received the blame. Without the benefit of anyone to whom I felt I could turn for the injustice which became overwhelming. And one day, as I hid, I listened to lies being told about me to my father, and it came to me that if I disappeared forever, it would make everyone happy. I began to cultivate the notion of suicide as my escape from the torment I felt, from the secrets I had to keep from my father of the sexual abuse and the lack of any defense against the things for which I was being blamed. Unresolved trauma. Then I got expelled from the school of my dreams, for which I had worked hard to enter, and won a scholarship. Immaculate. Why? 40 detentions in one term because I could not get to do homework. I was the only child. Fast forward to when I was 18. I was the only child of my mother. And one Tuesday morning I woke up, December 28th, 1971, after my mother had left for work at the Hammond Barracks cafeteria where she was head cook, to a knock at my gate that a fellow tenant answered. The person knocking was a JOS omnibus service inspector, greeting me when I went to the gate. "You know one Miss Louise Walcott?" he said. I said yes. His response, "A bus just killed her up the road." I was always critical of Hollywood actors for swooning at bad news. But had it not been for the neighbor that morning, I would have been the second fatality as I fell. It was then that I knew people cared. 3 people stood by me and helped me carry the emotional burden as an 18-year-old, losing my mother, whom I had to bury. One of them became my husband 10 months later. The other two, among others, was my childhood friend, Cherry, who just listened tirelessly, and Justice Courtney Orr of blessed memory, who gave himself the job of becoming my chauffeur to get me to and from work because I couldn't take a bus for almost a year. All positive interaction which helped to stabilize me. Fast forward again to later in my marriage, when challenges came and I felt that the man who had become my life was slipping out of my life. Suicide was no longer a considered solution. It became an action plan for removing the problem, me. I was the problem without whom my family could do better. 2 attempts which were thwarted or failed for lack of proper execution left me determined to succeed the next time. The third time was a sure thing. I took all the pills I could find, including all medicines from a heart patient, over 80 pills, plus a pint of raw white rum, and I didn't drink. And closed the door, laid on my bed, waiting for death to come and relieve me of the excruciatingly unbearable pain. What was driving me to commit suicide? Pain. But that night, I knew the goodness of God. As I cried out to him to say, I can't bear this pain anymore, but I know you can stop the process of death if you want. But I don't want this life that I now have. I want the abundant life of which you spoke. The Lord comforted me with his word in that moment. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And I felt my stomach heave, and I threw up for the rest of that night and the next day. But I got a new vision of my purpose as the words of current president of NCU, Dr. Trevor Gardner, written in my summer camp program, came back to me. Yvonne, live for a cause for which you are willing to die. For he who has no cause for which to die has no purpose for which to live. I decided to live for that purpose for which God made me. I now live on purpose. Thank you, Dr. Thomas, for giving me the opportunity to tell my story in order that someone may somewhere choose to live on purpose from my story.
They are all around. They rub shoulders with us. They have their pain. You can make a difference. We are trying to help people to make a difference in several ways. A principal from the Onoto Bay, the principal for the Onoto Bay High School, Mr. Lee, shared in a meeting recently with some principals and the Minister of Education that he read my book and he followed the directions in there, and he was able to intercept a young lady who was suicidal and helped her to choose life. We offer one-to-one counseling. The book is available, seminars. I want to ask you to do all you can to help that hurting person choose life. God bless you. Thanks again for being a part of this experience.